From the creators who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and $1 Million Listing, this is World of Wonder's Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another scintillating edition of the Wow Report, where we count down the top 10 things of the week that make us go wow. Wow. Those are the dulcet strains of our Chief Creative Officer, Tom Campbell at World of Wonder.
How do you do?
I do well, thank you. And James St. James, literary sensation, man of letters, author, host of the podcast Night Fever. Woo! And of course, Blake, lurking in the wings. And I'm Fenton Bailey. So without further ado, let us start at number 10.
Number 10.
I want to do an update on hacks. You know, we religiously watched, we religiously reported for several seasons. We talked at the beginning of the season, and we haven't really talked since. A lot of it's because I've been busy, but there's also been this sort of scuttlebutt that this season isn't as good as the other season.
I'm one of those scuttlebutters.
And again, I equate everything to what's going on in pop culture. The audience of hacks, I assume, is very liberal. And this is why I hate liberals, because don't get so hard. Don't be so hard on things that are doing really good work that may not be perfect. The Rotten Tomatoes score for this season has plummeted to 63% rating for audiences.
Outrageous.
I would have put it at 40.
Oh my God. That's down from like 89 and 90 in past seasons. Hack season 4 still has a 97 rating from critics, but it went down 3% from 100% last year.
Well, that's why I don't trust critics.
I want to throw out a radical theory, and we can move on very quickly.
No.
Is it that people just don't watch series? Like, I'm guilty of not following hacks, but it's not because I think it's not good.
No, but here's the thing: we don't have to fall lockstep in line just because it's a good show and we like the characters and the writing is fantastic. But if the plot lines are not up to par, then we're allowed to say so. And this season is negative. And for you who wants everything to be sunshines and lollipops, it's not sunshine and lollipops this season. It is nothing but bitching at each other and being miserable.
I go back to my original premise, which is liberals in the search for perfection kill the good. And I think Hacks is very, very good this season. It was perfect last season. It's very good this season. And yes, I recognize, I can say both things at the same time. I recognize that the conflict between the Ava character and the Deborah Vance character is sort of nonstop this season. I watched the first 2 episodes. I thought they had resolved it. But they haven't.
It's nonstop. It's relentless, and it's negative, and it's annoying. I'm sorry. Show a little light, show a little happiness, show a little love between the characters.
Well, as Mr. Rogers said, when disasters happen, look for the helpers. And I want to pay tribute, having watched up now to the 8th episode. There's 2 more left, to the supporting characters who have shined. I grant you that some of the who's being negative and relentless and hateful now? James St. James is Hacks. Your tomato rate, your Rotten Tomato ratings is 63%.
Is it repetitive then? Is that
yes!
the idea?
Yes.
Oh
no, she's now the head of a late night show. Megan Stalter, who I've always loved, who had a small role as Jimmy, the manager's assistant, has a spectacular season. She is full of shit. She is what happens to Hollywood people when power goes to their head. You know, she's 24. She demands like coconut water in like a young coconut. She screams. Everyone's afraid of her. And she goes half gorilla on people. And then she goes full gorilla on people. She is hilarious. And she represents every bullshit young agent, or assistant that became an agent in Hollywood. Now, do you remember the mayor of Vegas, played by Laura Weedman? She's kind of a crazy lady. She has an amazing one episode, but she gets caught in a sex scandal where she gets caught having sex with 3 professional hockey players on a Zamboni. And because Deborah has a talk show, she has to decide, is she going to make fun of her or can she rehabilitate her and bring her back through humor? Kind of like the Hugh Grant, Jay Leno story. Really fascinating. It's called Witch of the Week, and it has some social commentary, which we love about this show, which is about how we just take women and just tear them down and rip them apart and leave them on the side of the road. Or do we have to? And then the character that I realized I missed the most when she made her reappearance is Deborah's daughter, DJ, played by Caitlin Olsen, who now has her own huge series on ABC. And because there were other characters that used to snipe at her in different ways. And now all the conflict, or the majority of the conflict, yes, James, is between Ava and Deborah. And it gets a little, I also think we want to live in a world.
A little what? Finish that sentence?
It gets a little strident. I also think because I'm so tender with my, with the world falling down around us, why am I alone? Do you look at me, James? Do you have a television? Are you paying attention? Like, I'm torn down by it. And so you want the things that brought you joy to keep bringing you joy. And when mom and dad are fighting, it's a little upsetting. That's all I'm saying. But DJ, there's an incredible episode that reassures my faith in the series, even though, again, it's been a spotty, good seasons, bad seasons, or not so good seasons. I shouldn't say bad. But she has her baby, and there's the christening, and she becomes a Catholic and a Eucharistic minister. And there's this whole thing about God and what happens after life that's done in the most beautiful, prophetic Hacks way. So I'm just saying, lighten up a little bit, Hack haters. There.
Well, that is Hacks on Max.
Yes, 2 more episodes. Maybe.
No,
I'm hoping
it's not Max anymore. We should be talking about that. How HBO is dropping the Max and is now changing it back to HBO.
HBO Max. These rebrands are trying to kill me.
Yes.
All right. This brings us to number 9.
Number 9.
I watched the most bonkers documentary I've ever seen on Netflix. It's called Garbo, Where Did You Go? Okay. And it's about, the legendarily reclusive golden age star, Greta Garbo. I want to be alone. What makes this so bizarre, and Fenton, I think that you might get off on this, is that it's the first ASMR documentary I've ever seen.
Yes.
The narrator talks in this fake British accent, but she whispers the entire time. She doesn't raise her voice above a whisper at all. And there's also
why?
There's another, they never explain it, but there's another woman who's like wearing this paper mache mask, and they never explain why she's wearing this paper mache mask. And then there's another woman who calls herself the inspector, and we never know why, what's going on. And then there's another woman in a blonde wig who sort of acts out, pretending that she's being Greta Garbo, and they don't explain that either.
Is it really a documentary?
It is the craziest thing you've ever seen. None of it I felt like I was in a K-hole the entire time, and I wasn't. Spoiler, I was not.
What?
But it was bizarre. And there is some really great footage of her from her silent movie days, and there's some great conversations that were recorded back in the 1940s and 50s that they play. I do just want to stop there and say that I have a couple Greta Garbo stories that I want to tell very quickly, because I saw Greta Garbo a number of times in New York City. I followed her one time for 20 minutes down 57th Street. I saw this old lady. I thought she was a bag lady, and then I realized who it was and followed her. Another time I was at Bloomingdale's. I think I've told this story before. I was at the perfume counter, and this old woman came up to the perfume counter and asked for a sample. And you saw the perfume counter women's eyes get really big, and you saw everybody, all the customers take a deep breath, and everybody froze in place. And we realized that it was Greta Garbo standing there, and she was asking for a perfume sample. Apparently, she did that all the time. Another time, I was playing Trivial Pursuit in the 1980s with Michael Musto and Michelangelo Signorelli and Lisa E. And we decided to stop and do prank phone calls. And I was going through Musto's Rolodex, and he had Greta Garbo's phone number. And I called and I pranked Greta Garbo. And she picked up and she was like, hello. And her name was like Marguerite or something like that. I can't remember what her real name was. And Michael said, call her Marguerite. And I said, is Marguerite there? And she said, this is Marguerite. And I freaked out and I hung up because I didn't know what else to do. But so I'm the one person alive today who can say that they have spoken to Greta Garbo.
And all she wanted to be was left alone, James.
And here we were pranking the poor woman and stalking her down the street.
You should have asked her if our refrigerator was running.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, or do you have Prince Albert in a can or whatever? Yes. Anyway, so that is Garbo. Where have you got? Where did you go on Netflix?
Andy Warhol went to a picnic with Greta Garbo, I think, in Central Park, and he drew a butterfly on a napkin and presented it to her. Apparently, she just looked at it, went up, and scrumpled it up and threw it away. And when the picnic ended, Warhol picked it up and preserved it as crumpled butterfly by Greta Garbo.
It had been touched by Greta Garbo. It had been crumpled by Garbo.
But that sounds a really hilarious documentary. Okay, on Netflix, number 8.
Number 8.
Who knew? The Barry Diller story. I feel that Barry Diller is living rent-free in my brain right now. And maybe I'll do...
It should be three episodes in a row that you have done Barry Diller. So I either suggest that we do it and make it into a thing, a weekly thing.
Well, I thought, it's all very well to have opinions about a book, but you should read it, right? And so I actually ordered the book, and I'm reading it. And I'm about 100 pages in, and I am finding it compelling. I mean, weirdly so.
Welcome to the Barry Diller Book Club. Go ahead.
I was going to say, because you've gone up and down on this. You've hated it. You've loved it.
I'm all over the map. Exactly. What do you call that? When you love it, you hate it, you just...
Schizophrenia.
Bipolar disorder. Bipolar disorder.
Bipolar, yes.
I mean, it's also really interesting. I mean, I've always thought it odd to be known as the person who invented Movie of the Week. But I've always wanted to know, well, how did you invent Movie of the Week? And I'm sort of getting quite close to finding out, but I'll have to talk about it next week to reveal.
Cliffhanger.
But I do say the first part is about his family and his upbringing, and it sounds horrendous. I mean, it sounds almost like a sort of exercise in psychological cruelty, because it seems that, according to him, neither his mother or his father showed him or his brother showed him any kind of affection or sociable relations like families normally do.
Well, and I think, one of the things that we spoke about the last time when we were talking about the coming out, I think that was 2 weeks ago, and how everybody comes out in their own at their own pace, and we don't know what trauma anyone has been through that informs their decision to stay in the closet or not. And this might be the thing right there that was the reason why he never felt comfortable in expressing in coming out.
Yeah, see, he is extraordinarily sort of honest and soul-bearing about the damage that kind of upbringing had on him. And he never thought he was going to amount to anything. Even though, on the other side of it, he grew up pretty wealthy. His dad built enormous tracts of houses that were very popular in the post-war time. And so he never lacked for money, but I would say a complete absence of love. And yet out of that, he seems to, out of thinking he's worthless and worth nothing and will never be a success, he develops this and talks about it quite like his incredible ability to be an assistant. And he says, how he has often longed to have himself as his own assistant, which is sort of not immodest, but it's a little slightly weird way.
What's the word? Narcissistic?
Benton, would you like to have yourself as your assistant?
Not for a minute, no. I'm just awful.
He would clone himself and have a younger Fenton be his assistant.
Well, they do. The Dillers have cloned their dogs, so I suppose it's not out of the realm of possibility. He also talks about how he was very intuitive about people's moods and was very able to be a people pleaser, which I guess is, it's just a genuinely interesting thing. And all the time I'm reading this sort of ready to judge, because in a way,
has anyone ever really accused Barry Diller of being a people pleaser? Isn't his thing that he's sort of a hard ass?
Well, exactly. And
maybe he's not reading the room properly.
I don't know, because there's no question that he has been singularly, amazingly successful. And he credits that success to, first thing was in the mailroom, he read all the files of all the clients. And then almost kind of by chance, he got this job at ABC, the network, which was kind of like the also ran network.
Yep.
I think someone said, if you want to end the war in Vietnam, put it on ABC, and it will be over in 2 weeks because no one watched ABC and everything they did was a failure. And into this sort of vacuum, he finds himself almost, he suggests by chance, and basically just took over and took charge. And it's an instructive tale in the sense that I think often people wonder, how do you become successful? And often it's because you go into something or do something where no one else can be bothered to do anything. It's harder to make it in a well-established, mature industry. But TV was sort of emerging, and it was sort of not amateurish, but it was just weird that he could just at 24 be, spending millions of dollars on movies. And he goes on and on about how awful it is to be arrogant and what a terrible sin it is and how repugnant it is. And I'm like, the tone of the book is kind of arrogant because on the one hand, he's under no illusions about himself, but on the other hand, he is sort of kind of somewhat in love with himself and sort of, talking about his superpowers and his abilities. I mean, it's really quite fascinating. And I'm just sort of in the middle of it, and I kind of recommend it. I was talking to Randy about it and saying, he seems kind of insecure because of his sexuality and hiding it so desperately and yet having a lot of hookup sex. And not to blame Randy, but he said, well, maybe it's not insecurity. Maybe he's self-hating. And there is an element of that you still feel.
I think, there's a lot of self-hating in 70s.
That he doesn't accept himself. And he's very wise about the situation and the plight of being gay and again, having this loveless families. I mean, it's really, and I'm sorry, but it is really interesting.
Not even yin and yang, but it's also just controlling. Keeping factions of your life separate, saying putting sex here, protecting your heart, doing all these things, being successful in business, pleasing people or what you think people want in order to succeed, blah, blah.
Right. And I think if you are good at figuring out what people want, actually that is a skill, because if you can figure out what an audience wants and give it to them, you're going to do well. It's like, so it's truly it's fascinating. And I almost like how I feel about it is kind of irrelevant. It's because I think often biographies, and I love reading biographies, often they're very one note, they're told from a sort of somewhat impervious point of view of like, well, then I became successful. And, that this really feels kind of like an open book. And I didn't intend to give it this rave review. You see, this is what makes me so cross.
Well, we'll wait till next week because it goes up
exactly.
and down.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a break. Blake, we got a question?
I do. On this day in 1934, these two notorious outlaws were killed in an ambush by law enforcement in Louisiana. Who were they?
Well,
we'll have the answer on the WOW Report right after the break here on Radio Andy.
You're listening to World of Wonders WOW Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back to the WOW Report. It's Fenton here with James and Tom and Blake. We're counting down the top 10 things of the week that made us go wow. But first, the answer to Blake's teaser.
Yes, I asked. These two notorious outlaws were killed by law enforcement by ambush on this day in 1934 in Louisiana. James, who are they?
Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway.
Also known as Bonnie and Clyde.
But do you know their real last names? What's Bonnie and Clyde's last name?
Oh, but I know this. Clyde
Barker.
Clyde
Barker.
Bonnie Parker and Clyde Barrow.
Barrow. Yeah. Okay. I was right with one. You were right with the other. Yeah.
I celebrity coupled them by calling them Barker.
Let's carry on with our countdown. We've reached number 7.
Number 7.
I don't think I've said enough times in the show that I'm having trouble absorbing any joy or any pop culture. But I tried for you, for the show, for the sake of the country. And I watched the first episode of 4 seasons. Currently playing on Netflix, written and produced by the wonderful Tina Fey, who's given us so much incredible content over the years.
So much.
This is a movie that originally was directed by Alan Alda, who I believe makes a cameo. And he was starred with Carol Burnett back in the 1979. It's about 3 couples. Tina Fey is in a relationship with Will Forte. He's a college professor. And they're kind of the center of the group. They're playing what Carol Burnett and Alan Alda played. Then Steve Carell is with Carrie Kenny Silver. Carrie Kenny Silver is a comedian you'll know from Reno 911, and she's just hilarious. they're together. Their impetus is that they are this really, really happy couple. All three couples are, but they're about to get divorced. And the other is a gay couple, Coleman Domingo, who's just fabulous. I like every word he says. And this beautiful Italian man who's a writer, director, I'm just getting to know, Marco Calvani. And it takes place every season. They go on vacation every season as couples. And the first season is spring, and they go to a cabin. And here is just why I love it, and I'll tell you why I don't love it at the other end. But Steve Carell's character goes hiking with the guys. They've just had a night before where they all toast each other in this idyllic, Nancy Meyers kind of cabin, and we have our soulmates and we love each other and all this kind of stuff. And then he says on a hike, he's leaving his wife. After this weekend, he's leaving his wife. He goes, he hates her. He doesn't hate her. She's a nice lady, but she doesn't want to do anything. She doesn't want to read any new books. He won't use the pottery shed he just bought her. She spends all her day playing like basically Candy Crush, and he can't live like that anymore. And he thinks that they're both lonely and that she will welcome a divorce. And then one of his friends says, every marriage at some point you feel like a roommate. And he goes, this is my favorite line, I wish we were roommates. Roommates hang out together. There's porn about roommates. We're like coworkers at a nuclear facility. We sit in the same room all night and monitor different screens. I kind of love that. That's the insight. That's the Tina Fey I know and love. It's rich white people with rich white people problems. And I've read some reviews, jumping ahead as I do, that say it's a little bit light. But I will watch more of them. And it's just really what happens to middle-aged couples. And, Tina has given us Mean Girls, which is about high school, and 30 Rock, which is about the workplace. So now it's kind of an empty nesters exploration. And I ain't mad at it. I don't, and I don't know what the Rotten Tomato score is, but James will find out. And
Tom, where is Four Seasons? Where can we watch it?
It's on Netflix.
Okay, great. Number 6, James.
Number 6.
There was a prison break in Louisiana over the weekend, and 10 prisoners escaped from a jail there. They had help from the inside. Someone turned off the water. They were able to lift the toilet out of the wall and then escape through the hole. And they wrote too easy LOL above the hole in the toilet. They're evil murderers. They're on the loose. They're on the lam. There were 10 of them. 5 of them have been captured as of now. We've taped a little bit earlier. I don't know if they've caught any others, but I've been furiously, Xing about this. And I said, one of my worst qualities is that I will always root for prison escapees. Always. It's like something in my DNA that I get excited. My adrenaline rushes. I find it just captivating whenever anyone gets out. And The View was talking about it, and they asked sort of a similar question. They asked a question. They said, what is it about prison escapes that has people riveted? And they didn't quite get to what I think is the reason. And my theory is that we have been brought up on movies and books and TV, whether it's, The Count of Monte Cristo or Prison Break, the movie, the TV show, or Shawshank Redemption. I wrote down Escape from Alcatraz, Cool Hand Luke, Midnight Express, The Great Escape, Muppets Most Wanted. I don't know if you remember when there was a Kermit lookalike going out and doing crimes, and Kermit was arrested and he had to break out of prison to prove his innocence. It's if you haven't watched Muppets Most Wanted, it's fantastic. I was a prisoner of a chain gang, the Defiant Ones, Papillon. For generations, we have been brought up on these adrenaline rushing movies, and that is why I think I will always, even though these people are absolutely horrible, monsters, murderers.
Well, Wilson, there was a multiple season Prison Break, right?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, Prison Break.
He tried to get out. And then I was thinking of The Fugitive was one of the sort of early staple TV series.
Yeah.
And so it's just, we love it because we've been brought up on it.
It's in our DNA to root for the prisoner.
And they're always sort of positioned in pop culture as the underdog, as the wrongly accused, which isn't necessarily the truth in life.
Well, I guess it will be a miniseries soon, right? I mean, it's just it did look so easy. It looked like there was just a cupboard in front of the hole in the wall. It
was very much like the Shawshank Redemption, where they had the poster and they of Rita Hayworth, and they carved behind it. Yeah.
I wasn't going to do this next, but I think I might. Number 5.
Number 5.
American Manhunt, Osama bin Laden. Because it's the number 1 series on Netflix.
I haven't even heard about this.
It's a 3-parter. It is unbelievably good. Universally good reviews. And it's basically the real life series version of Zero Dark 30. And the retelling alone of 9/11 which is the first episode, which is all I've watched so far, is incredibly taut and good, and the best use of archive and interviews. And I mean, it's just, it's a tour de force. It really is. But like you, James, I guess I was sort of wondering, well, this is being told as a great American manhunt, great success, finding and killing Osama bin Laden. But they knew within about 10 minutes who had done it. And then it was going to take them 10 years. And this isn't like one massive superpower against another. No, this is the most powerful nation in the entire world going after one man.
But if you remember, there were years where they were trying to tell us that it was the Iraqis or that it was anybody other than what it really was. And they were starting wars left and right.
They knew immediately. And they actually even knew before, that it does seem like there were an appalling number of signals that something was going to happen. And okay, in fairness, they weren't told exactly what it would be or when it would be. But if you're so brilliant in terms of surveillance and, FBI and things like that.
Remember in the 90s, there was the bombing in the building before and the basement. And then there was the bombing of the in the Sea of Oman, wasn't there? There was.
That's right. Yeah.
And that was all of Osama bin Laden too, wasn't it? So we knew that he was capable of these things.
Absolutely, yes. It's odd, though, isn't it, that what is being framed as a great American success story is, in fact, one of monumental failure.
Yeah.
I mean, and so I just think that's so bizarre, because I think a history book will look back on this as like the last days of the Roman Empire, and you've got Caligula or George W. Bush or Nero or Trump. You've got a succession of really problematic, incapable, unqualified leaders, and it's like the fall of Rome. But this is all presented as some incredible sort of
adventure,
yeah,
movie.
It's the selective, almost fictionalization of what happened. It's telling
the narrative to make it into America the great.
Yeah, because that's what people watch. That's what sells. It's the same as your Prison Break movie.
A really funny tweet the other day about this, where they were saying, "Thank God Trump wasn't president during 9/11, or he would have buddied up to Osama bin Laden. Osama bin Laden would have been the greatest leader, a la Kim Jong-un and Putin,
and Syria and everybody else."
Yeah. I do recommend it, though. It is incredibly well made. It's made by 2 Israeli filmmakers, Daniel Sivan and Mor Lushi. And I haven't watched anything else they did, but they did the Oslo Diaries, all about the Oslo peace process. They did the Mordor, Low Country, the Mordor dynasty.
Mordor, as in Lord of the Rings?
No, Mordor, Murdaugh. The killer. Killed his wife and son, I think.
Murdoch.
Anyway, should we take a break?
Let's.
Blake?
Which state officially became the 8th U.S. state on this day in 1788?
8th state. All right.
But there are 13 original colonies. Oh, it's hard.
The answer right after the break here on the Wow Report on Radio Andy.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. James is counting up the answer on his fingers to Blake's teasing question, which was...
What is the 8th U.S. state? It was made a state on this day in 1788.
I'm totally confused. I thought there were 13 original colonies. So I don't even know how to begin to guess. Over to you, James.
I'm going to say North Carolina, but that's probably no. What?
I'm going to say California. I mean, why not?
James, you're really close. It's South Carolina.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. And I think the states that they were 13 colonies before they became states, and then they became states,
They
Okay.
one at a time.
Yeah. Okay. And I was sort of going down from New Hampshire to, and then going the southernmost state would probably be North Carolina and South Carolina.
One of the questions on the citizenship thing is you have to name the contiguous states on the eastern seaboard.
Oh,
that's hard, I think. Maine.
So that Georgia. No, Georgia isn't. No. West Virginia.
Yeah. Well, you passed your driving test, so it's okay. All right. Number 4, counting down, Tom.
Number 4.
I believe that Blake is reclaiming my time. Is that correct?
Sure, I can. So I'm currently in Arkansas. I came down here for my niece's kindergarten graduation, and that was precious. She did like 4 songs, and they all graduated. It was really cute. But anyway, I'm going to kill 2 birds with 1 stone while I'm down here, and I'm going to learn how to shoot a handgun.
Well,
and
do we really want Blake Jacobs having a handgun?
I mean, I fix everything at your house. I wouldn't want.
But the minute somebody smashes into your house again, are you going to come out guns blazing and take them all down?
I think Blake getting a gun increases the chances for us, 3 of us, that we become human body shields, like by 100%. Like this, the odds that happening have just gone whoosh through the roof.
I never really wanted a gun, but I just feel like there's so many in this day and age. There's so many like MAGA people that think they're above the law. Like since I've been in Arkansas, this team of kids that were laying fiber underground in this town right outside of Hot Springs. And a man, they were on his property, but they had, right to be because they're laying internet line. And a man pulled a gun on them.
You see the story time and time again of the girls who like accidentally went in the wrong driveway to ask for directions, and they ended up, dead. I mean, it is a scary world that we live in. So possibly it is.
10 years ago, I never would have wanted a gun or thought that I needed a gun, but now I kind of want a gun just to keep on the top shelf of my closet. And if I need to use it, I want to know how to use it safely. So that's my purpose.
Well, but it's sort of a zombie apocalypse scenario where do you really want to survive the zombie apocalypse, or would you rather be eaten first? I mean, I kind of would rather be eaten first. There's no way in hell I'm going to be fighting zombies and foraging.
They're not going to eat you, James.
They're going to take one bite and be like, ugh.
They may already have.
I have something really stupid to add. Why can't they make bullets or poison darts or something that makes people not die, but immediately makes them fall down or something?
Yes.
Like a taser?
Yes, but more sophisticated, or a poison dart gun.
I want knockout gas. I want like chloroform in a bullet.
Shoot that poison arrow.
There you go.
Well, the army did actually develop a bomb and the intention of the bomb was it would drop and it would turn the enemy gay. A gay bomb.
I remember that. There's a movie about that or something, isn't there? I remember.
Right, exactly. That's the gun you want.
Yeah, if I could get that, I'd order 3.
Right. Because the ice comes to your door and the next thing you know, you're having an orgy. I mean,
well, if they're hot.
Well, get a lot of training and be very careful.
I will.
What other news do you have in your potpourri?
Okay. Have you heard about the elephants at the LA Zoo?
No.
Well, they are Tina and Bobby, and they're like 40 and 59. And people like Priscilla Presley and Kim Basinger are outraged because they were moved in the middle of the night to the Tulsa Zoo instead of retirement in a big open space, which I think they should have been retired. They've served to their purpose.
Yeah. Maybe we can get Dan Matthews on it.
Oh, yeah, we should call him. Well, there are tons of celebrities that are all supporting the case. Cher, Alicia Silverstone, Diane Warren, Katherine Heigl, Nicola Peltz Beckham, Justin Theroux. They've all signed a letter sent to Mayor Karen Bass about the situation.
Oh, well, Karen Bass.
Exactly. Also, Kim Kardashian has graduated from law school.
But that's not true. I don't know if you've paid attention.
Well, she hasn't passed the bar.
No, she hasn't passed the bar, but she hasn't passed law school either.
Exactly.
It is not law school at all. What she did was supervise hours with a
which
lawyer.
They say is sufficient in California, but I wouldn't want my lawyer.
She did not go to law school, and she did not pass the bar there, and she's out there saying, I'm a lawyer now. She ain't no lawyer, and she's not gonna be a lawyer. She never graduated from high school, and that's one of the requirements.
The real Kardashian news of the week is Kris Jenner's new facelift. Look it up.
Yes, okay. I can get on board with that. She looks fantastic.
Well, there you go. That's all I got for you,
Right.
Fenton.
Oh my gosh, thank you. God. All right. This means we have reached number 3. James.
Number 3.
I have sort of a pattern going this week as well, because I have a prison documentary that I wanted to talk about. It's called Quilters. It's a short documentary. I think it's on Netflix as well. We'll have to look that up. It's only 33 minutes long.
It is on Netflix. I watched it as well. It's really good.
It's really, really spectacular. It's inmates at a level 5 maximum security prison, South Central Correctional Center in Missouri. And they sew custom quilts for children on the adoption waiting list. And we follow several of the quilters as they go from design to completion of these quilts. And we get to know these prisoners as their struggles and their triumphs and everything as they're making these quilts. And the quilts are just absolutely gorgeous and absolutely brilliant. And we get to know the prisoners, but we don't know anything about their life beforehand. We don't know what they're in for. We don't know any of that. We never find out, but because they're in for life, and so they have no chance of parole, and so all they have is the here and now, which is this sort of like existential feeling you get from the movie, is that they are just existing in the present. They have no future, they have no past, and so what they did isn't really relevant to the story of the making of their quilts. And that it's this lovely little place that they create in the center of this horrible prison system, but they have this, it's like a moment of Zen where they're just these lovely, the quilting has sort of changed them, and it's hard to explain, but I cried about 3 or 4 times. And it's like I said, it's just 33 minutes long, but I was sobbing by the end. I thought it was just beautifully done, beautifully made. And just the idea, like I said, that there really is no future or past for them. It's that all they have is this moment in this place together where they help each other, and they're helping these children, and they make these just beautiful objects for them. Blake, what did you think?
I loved it. I loved the quilts that they made. I love that the guy used butterflies. What was his name? Chill. He used butterflies just because his mother had recently died and she was obsessed with butterflies. And the quilts that they made were really
spectacular. And I'm not a big quilter person, but it was just, like I said, it was just beautifully done. And the way you get to really like these guys, and then was it Chill that like just sort of like disappears because he does something wrong? And
no, it was another guy. I forgot, and he didn't even do anything.
He's this wonderful guy, and then all of a sudden, halfway through the documentary, he just disappears, and they're like, well.
He didn't even do anything that bad. He was like trying to hem someone's clothes outside of the shop, but he got caught with the tools or whatever.
Yeah,
so.
All right. Quilters on Netflix. Number 2. Eurovision. It is the weirdest.
I've never been able to do it.
makes no sense because of the timing, or just because you just think, oh, this is not for me?
It's not for me, but it's a lot to invest in, isn't it? Like 19 hours a day for 40 days or something.
True. I just watched the finale, which was a staggering 3.5 hours long, featuring songs from 37 countries, which is a lot.
I don't know that I have enough time in my life for this.
No, we Americans rejected the metric system in the 70s, and we've rejected Eurovision as well. We're just not going there.
Well, this year's edition was reliably weird. Normally, I watch it because I quite like the Eastern Bloc odd countries like Albania, Estonia, and Azerbaijan, and Latvia, and Moldova. I just love saying those names for one thing, but they always come up with these bonkers songs, and you don't quite know where they're coming from or what they're about. So it was that. And then, but the scandal this year was that Malta wrote in a song called, what was it called? Serving Cunt. Now, cunt is K-A-N-T, and that is Maltese for singing. So the song is serving singing. But of course, when she says serving cunt, I think the European something or other said that the similarity between the word can't and the British slang term for a part of the female anatomy is too unfortunate.
So she knew what she was doing, basically.
She knew what she was doing. Yes.
If you seek Amy.
So they made her change it. So she just could only say serving, and they had to take out the word can't. So
well, that's see, I would have loved that song. In fact, I'm going to download it.
Wasn't the winner was it like a trans man or something?
Well, I'm going to get that.
Okay.
Then Finland had a song called Ik kom, meaning I come. And if you translate the lyrics, it's like, I scream out loud, I'm coming, and together we come. Why? How come that wasn't flagged as problematic? Serving cunt is not okay, but I can't. Ik kom from Finland apparently is okay.
Not right.
Okay, and then Australia had a song called "The Milkshake Man." I can tell you what a taste of the Milkshake Man. I've got chocolate, vanilla, lactose free, and a caramel banana that you have got to see.
Well, I mean, my milkshake brings all the boys to the yard. I mean, you know.
I've got mango mojito, a fruit ballet, and did you see the naughty special on my creme brulee?
I love that. That's
right?
So good.
Didn't win. In fact, you're right, James. Austria won with a Filipino Austrian who grew up in Dubai called JJ. And the song was this kind of like pop opera in the manner of, who won last year? Nemo, right? It was a very sort of operatic song. But it all got very political because Eurovision has this completely weird, completely incomprehensible scoring system. I mean, you know, Rue and math, and he's like, if it's got more than 2 numbers in, it's like, no. Well, this has all the finals and brackets and things, and then you have a jury of a country that awards its points, 12 points to one nation. And in that, suddenly, Israel took the lead. And then they add in the popular vote, which also has some weird rules. And the next thing you know, Israel is about to win with Yuval Raphael, A New Day Will Rise. And she was a survivor of the 7th of October. And it's a very weird song. And you could feel this very uneasy feeling. And then there was a final round of voting. And at the last minute, Austria with Wasted Love, with JJ's song Wasted Love, took the trophy. It was very tense and very weird.
That Israel controversy, I heard about it on NPR, and it made it into my feed, and people were very upset that it had done so well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Times.
Oh, and the British haven't been doing very well at Eurovision for many, many years. And they often get 0 points. They are awarded 0 points by other countries. And this was no exception. And their song was "What the Hell Just Happened." That was what the song was called, which I guess in terms of choosing a prescient title, that's really the way to go. And they're sort of Spice Girly type thing. Yeah. All right. Well, that's Eurovision. I don't know. Next year, Tom, it may bring some relief from the stress. One more break, and when we come back, the number one thing this week that made us go, wow.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. Fenton here with Tom and James and Blake. We've been counting down the top 10 things of the week that made us go wow. And number one.
Number one.
The Little Pageant That Could. Last night we had a premiere at the Village, the LGBT center here in LA. We had a glittering committee, Tom Campbell, Sasha Colby, Margaret Cho. Well, it was a lovely, marvelous, in the open courtyard, drinks and everything, and T.S. Madison. And I should just explain what The Little Pageant That Could is. Yeah. It is a film about, I think it's called Best in Show. Oh no, Battle for the Tiara. Battle for the Tiara. It's a show, a drag show that has been going on for some 35 years. And it was started by a kid called Alexis in the early 90s. And literally in his apartment, inspired by when Vanessa Williams had her crown taken away from, was it Miss World or Miss Universe?
It was Miss America.
Miss America. Inspired by when Vanessa Williams had her crown taken away in Miss America, he was outraged and decided to hold a drag celebration parody pageant in his apartment and just pass around a bucket to raise money for homeless people with AIDS. And this pageant, from those small beginnings, went from strength to strength to strength. And it's predominantly a group of sober men who find incredible community. They don't do drag. They're not drag artists in their careers or in their lives.
It's the best, worst drag you've ever seen.
There you go. Brilliantly put. And they've been videotaping all these pageants for 35 years. And John Carlos Frey, who's been involved with the organization from the beginning, came to us with this archive, and he had the rough cut of this film saying, guys, what can I do with this? And we're like, oh my God, this is amazing. Because as Tom says, it is the best, worst in drag you've ever seen. But the love and the heart and the energy of it is just so irresistible. And it sort of, it just is a reminder of the power of drag, really, to bring people together. And some of the stuff is just hilarious and priceless and such a good cause. And they've raised millions and millions and millions of dollars. And one of the things they do is they do the show, and the audience scrunch up dollar bills or more currency and then just throw it at the stage. And that's how they raise a large amount of the money. And that's what people were doing last night. Throwing money at the screen.
We're going to be able to see on Wow Presents Plus. Is there, yes. You see it somewhere else? Or is
it's coming out in a week on Wow Presents Plus.
Good, okay.
It's a really funny, lovely, warm film. And huge congratulations to John Carlos Frey and everyone who's ever participated. In fact, a big shout out to Louis Extravaganza, Louis Camacho. Oh. Yes, he was the one who turned us on. He said, is it okay if I give John Carlos your number because he's got this film?
And that's fantastic.
Yeah. And Louis is in it, very modest and sort of tucked away because he's so fabulous.
Oh, and yes. He looks so good. He looks fantastic lately. Just God bless Louis.
Yep, and you can watch Lewis's episode of Night Fever on season 2.
There you go.
Excellent.
And we do have Night Fever coming up on June 18th, I believe, or the new season begins.
What is the debut?
Nell Campbell, I believe, is our first guest.
Yep, it's going to be a good season.
My plug is tune in to Paramount Plus tonight, this weekend to see the second bracket begin in the Tournament of All-Stars, RuPaul's Drag Race.
Okay. Oh, and then go the balloons.
It really is such a great season. And the brackets, because we haven't done the brackets before, have we?
No, it's really good. All new set of drama and talent and just great.
Yeah. Tom, thank you. James, thank you. Blake,
Thank
you.
you.
And thank you all for listening. Same time, same place next week. Until then, go out and do something that makes the world go
Wow.